as you drive around and you look at what's happening, you can see crumbling bridges and streets. You see a rickety rail system. You see an electrical grid that is struggling to meet with, supply demand,
Sure.
and on and on. Meanwhile, we have literally trillions of dollars being sucked out of the budget for stimulus bills, bailout bills. We had the spectacle of the Federal Reserve's chief financial officer testifying before Congress and being questioned by Representative Alan Grayson from Florida, and she had the cheek to tell him she could not account for the disposition of something on the order of $2 trillion, which ostensibly fall under her purview. So we're being mugged, George.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not a small mugging. It's not like being held up at gunpoint and someone lists $100. We're being mugged by the trillions of dollars, and each individual is actually having thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars stolen from him and from her.
Now, beyond the bases for military purposes, to be able to control command and control, I can understand that. What are they using these facilities for? What are they expecting, Richard?
Well, you see, that's the question, and that's what really bothers me and other researchers too, the great secrecy that surrounds so much of this. One of the things we know, for example, the NSA has vast acres and acres and acres of supercomputers underground, which they use for surveillance purposes. Now, I mean Big Brother, George Orwell-style surveillance purposes. I object to that. I don't think that has any role in a free society. It does in dictatorship, but not in a free society. So that alone is an indication that we are now living under dictatorship, technocratic dictatorship. That's one example of some of the things that go on underground. Another example might be secretive biological engineering and genetic engineering. There are a fair number of anecdotal accounts of this kind of thing happening underground, and that again is troubling, because if the human genome is being tinkered with, if there's secret human cloning research going on underground, if there is secret bacteriological warfare research going on underground, frankly, that's our business. It's our planet, and it's our welfare that is at stake and at question, and we absolutely deserve to know about it, the more so since we're paying for it. That's another example. Then there are many stories, of course, of underground facilities, and also some stories of undersea facilities with an alien presence. And by the way, the aliens need not always be non-human. Evidently, some of them are very human, and it would appear that one of the big secrets behind the ET and UFO cover-up is that, oh, by the way, not all of the ETs are non-human. Some of them are fully human, and it would appear that one of the big aspects of the cover-up is that the Earth may not be the only planet in the galaxy with a resident human population.
That's an incredible story.
Yes, and it's a story that I think a fair number of researchers are beginning to suspect is the truth. I'm one of them. Now, there are other things that have come my way. I've been told that some of these facilities can be secret mining facilities. Imagine if you have your own secret gold mine or uranium mine or platinum mine, and you're able to mine this and have your own stash of precious metals. That could be very valuable, especially if you are a government agency and you can move this on the black market to raise funding for other clandestine operations.
Sounds like somebody's being King Solomon all over again, huh?
Yeah, it could be. I'll give you one, for instance, of that I was related to me anecdotally, and that was during the construction of the facility the so-called Monsanto underground base in New Mexico, I was told that, of course, there are veins of gold in the Rocky Mountains in general, and certainly in the mountains in New Mexico. And during the construction of this base, from time to time, the miners ran across veins of gold. In some cases, they were pretty good veins of gold. The ore was of a very high quality, and the generals that were running the project confiscated that gold for their own and self-enrichment. So that's one example. That was then a twofer. At one and the same time, they made a base that at that time was pretty secret. Not so much today, but at that time, yes. But in the process of building the base, they were also running their own clandestine gold mining operation.
Richard, do you think these mines, once they're built, are manned and there's a whole bunch of people down in each one of them? Or do they kind of leave until they have to go back down there and use it?
No. A lot of these would have a resident workforce, round the clock. Many of them are fully staffed all the time. It's hard to know just how many, because there's such a high degree of compartmentalization. The agencies involved, whether they're government organizations or non-governmental, are in the main very secretive. I would go further and say extremely secretive about what they're doing underground. There's another issue I want to mention, and that is, for years we've had a tremendous problem in the society of missing persons.
Yes.
I mean, a very large number of missing persons.
Thousands and thousands every year.
It's just a vast number. Yeah. And you can account for a certain number of them in terms of runaway children, husbands who are nagged one too many times and hit the road, etc. But beyond that, you're left with a large number of people that simply cannot be accounted for at the end of each year. Nationwide, it's quite large. I think it actually runs over 100,000 people a year who just fall through the cracks and vanish. Where do they go? What happens to them? I am beginning to wonder if some of them may not be taken underground as guinea pigs or forced labor, source of forced labor, or for other reasons. I think you've had Melinda Leslie on the program a time or two or more, and she certainly has talked to a number of people who've been abducted by the United States military. So there's a growing body of anecdotal evidence that points to the United States military running its own clandestine human abduction program for very obscure purposes. But part of this does entail taking people underground to these very bizarre underground facilities where the military is doing, frankly, weird things. And there are also, in some cases, aliens down there. Now, of course, we hear these stories from the ones who are abducted and come back, who live to tell the tale. What about the ones who may be abducted and don't return?
And there could be many of those, too, then, Richard, as you were saying.
There could be many. And it appears that, in theory, the military is here to serve and defend. But in practice, researchers have found many, many disturbing military programs that, frankly, have preyed on have been predatory against the very population that they have sworn to keep safe and to defend from harm.
One would think that these bases, these tunnels would be in areas of not too populated spots in this country, but a lot of them are under major cities, aren't they?
Well, that's right, and that's an important issue. I want to make clear for people that, in fact, there are a good number of bases in relatively unpopulated areas, in mountainous areas or desertous areas, and the technology exists to create vast underground and undersea bases literally anywhere on the planet and at great depth. However, as you observe, it's true that these facilities can be and are also located under major metropolitan areas, including cities such as Moscow, London, Beijing, New York, Washington, D.C., etc.